Success is making other people better when they are in your presence, and then making that impact last even in your absence.
Great day to you all, and welcome to the X Factors to Success podcast show. I am your host, Ruggiero Farticangeli, also known as the G-Man. And folks, thank you for stopping by at the X Factors Success. Really appreciate your time that you spend with us, wherever you are on the road, driving to work, coming from work, working out, walking your dog, whatever it is. But the G-Man here is bringing you another awesome guest. But before we introduce the guest here, I have an awesome quote from a very well-known mentor of mine, and it goes like this: don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high. That's right. This is from Jim Rohn. Great quote. Be influential. And this goes hand in hand with our guest speaker today is Marc Williams. Marc Williams is an executive speech and career coach, author, educator, and motivational speaker. You're in for a big surprise, folks. After earning a bachelor's degree in education and literature, as well as a master's degree in speech communication from New York University, Marc built a business to inspire and teach aspiring leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries how to transform their public speaking and presentation skills to make a more meaningful and lasting impression on the world. By the way, his first book, Beyond Limitations, details life lessons for overcoming challenges and achieving goals. His forthcoming book, The Rules of Engagement, outlines 10 strategies that will turn public speaking into best marketing tool. Marc has competed in the finals of the World's Championship of Public Speaking, and I know that because I've seen him speak, folks. Delivered a TED Talk called The World is Watching, and delivered keynotes, trainings, and one-on-one coaching sessions for educational institutions, corporations, and organizations all over, and city agencies on peak performance and public speaking skills. His mission, that's right, his mission is to empower the largest group of diverse voices to share the most brilliant, unspoken ideas that need to be heard. Marc says that his biggest accomplishment is being a proud mama's boy, lucky married husband, and a happy father of 3 children. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Marc Williams. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm absolutely excited. I love you, love your energy and everything that you're doing. I'm looking forward to our time and our conversation together today.
Well, Marc, you know what? I'm honored to have you on my show because it took a little while to get you organized to get on my show, and you've been very busy out there making a difference. And I know I probably didn't do any big justice on your bio here, but I'm sure we'll hear more about what you've done and how you're making a difference in the world out there, Marc.
That's the goal. You're making a difference. You did an excellent job, and you will continue to. And together, our conversation today is going to elevate everybody who listens.
Super duper. And I know that you and I just met officially about a few weeks ago. I'd say about a month ago, maybe.
Yes.
Toastmasters, right? A Toastmasters engagement there.
Our beloved Toastmasters. It always feels like a family reunion. And it's just like we added another member to the family when we connected.
Amen, brother. Amen. Well, Marc, once again, thank you for the show. And then let's get right to it because I know that time is of the essence. You need to spend time with your family and all that good stuff there. So, I ask all my guests on my show the very first question because it relates to the platform that I teach also in the 5 key principles or the 5 pillars of the X Factors to Success, which stands for faith, family and friends, fitness, finance, and fun. I could go deep in each category. But the first question to you is, what is the definition of success? Go ahead.
Wow. So that's a tough question, right?
I know.
That's a tough question. And I've tried to answer it in so many ways, but I will tell you the definition for success that is on my plate right now that I feel so passionate about is this one. Success is making other people better when they are in your presence, and then making that impact last even in your absence.
Wow, that is a powerful response to this. It's one of the first ones of here like that. I love it there, Mark.
It resonates with everything that we should be doing and the value that we have to not only benefit ourselves, but to benefit others.
Wow, that's very holistic. I have to say, that's very deep, my friend. Very deep. Oh yeah. So, what makes Mark so energized? What motivates you, basically? To get that everyday energy that you have.
So, listen, you heard it at the end of my bio. My family is always my biggest motivation. I tell people all the time, everything that I do is because of my family. When I was in college, I remember writing my college essay, and I wrote that the reason why I do everything I do was because my mother. May she rest in peace. She's always been my spirit. And when I lost my mom and then I raised my family, my wife and my 3 kids, they became my inspiration for everything that I do. And now their future becomes my motivation.
Wow. Blessings to you and blessings to your mom. I'm sure she's looking down right now over you and saying, that's my boy. That's my boy. Mark.
I am a mama's boy.
I love it. I heard your speech about a month ago or so, and you gave a wonderful 45-minute keynote there, and you really moved the audience there. And because I was so inspired also, I said, I have to have this guy Mark on my show. I have to have him on my show.
Thank you, man.
And then you shared all the great things that you've done and what you're doing right now. So what would you say to what most is the attribution to your success up to now? So we're going to tie in success and motivation.
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. One, it's always my family, right? I always credit my family. The truth is, growing up the way that I did not grow up with a lot of money, did not grow up with with any kind of abundance, definitely grew up with a lot of disadvantages. And my mother had a lot of disadvantages as well, but the family just kind of rallying around and making sure that even when she didn't have something, what little they had was still there for my benefit. My cousin was the one who made sure that I got into a good school when I was not in a great district. My aunt, may she rest in peace, was the one who talked to me about not taking a year or 2 off from college because she knew that me staying in school was critically important. So my family's been huge. And the other thing that I would say is my circle,
right?
My friends, my cheerleaders, my coaches, my mentors, my accountability partners. It goes back to that quote you said at the very beginning. It's all about the circle you keep. My circle is very strong.
Right. Just to add to that, Jim Rohn's very popular quote is, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
So I see a correlation there, Mark.
Oh, man. Well, you just boosted up my average.
Well, well, it's a pleasure. Again, we attract, law of attraction. What you think about, you ask, receive, and believe, and you believe, and you bring in people in your circle. And that's what it's all about. And, Mark, your circle, your audience, what would you say that right now, who are your audience?
I think there's 2 groups.
Okay.
The one group that I'm touching right now in terms of my audience are young kids, because I try to go out to schools as often as I can to do 2 things. One, to inspire them, and also to give them the tools of presentation and communication, because as you and I both know, the way that you talk, the way that you present yourself is so key to your success. That's a key factor to success. So I love talking to the kids about how they find hope, how they realize their dreams, and how they communicate and present themselves. So I do a lot of talking with the kids, but I also love to come out and talk to adults, whether it be Toastmasters or whether it be corporate groups. Once again, it's the whole idea of inspiring people and teaching them those presentation and communication skills.
Thank you. And especially that, let's talk more about the communication and how's had Toastmasters. And again, for the audience out there who are probably saying, what's Toastmasters, right? And do you have a short, abridged version when you're having a conversation with someone, they say Toastmasters, do you guys give toast? Do you guys drink? So maybe, Mark, can you elaborate Toastmasters?
Yes. I hear the toast line all the time, but here's what I tell people. Toastmasters is like a public speaking gym. You go there to exercise your muscles. And you go there, and there are personal trainers all around giving you evaluations, exercising right there next to you. and you come back as often as you can to build a stronger and stronger presence. So it's a public speaking gym. You want to work out, you want to be strong, come to Toastmasters.
That is one of the most perfect explanations. It's a gym. I love it. Thank you. I want to steal that, Mark. Is that okay?
Go right ahead. Okay. Go right ahead.
I will credit you. I will credit Marc Williams. Wow, thank you for sharing with that. So I know that your journey has been challenging, but those challenges made you stronger.
Yes.
What would you say one of the biggest or most challenging or failure that you learned from? What was the pivot point from that failure? Can you recall a moment in time?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest mistakes and failures has been saying yes too often. And it's funny, I'm reading a book right now called Hustle by Joshua Medcalf, and he talks about the power of saying no sometimes and not always saying yes. And because I've always wanted to try to please and help people as much as I can, sometimes I have over-yesed myself when I needed to under-yes myself. And I remember one particular time when I was asked to take a leadership position, and I said yes, not necessarily because it was something I always dreamt about doing, but it was something I had the capability of doing. And during that time, I learned the greatest value that I can bring. And I think that's a lesson for everybody to really understand. We can say yes to things because we can do it, but we always need to ask ourselves, do we want to do it? And where is our greatest value? So my greatest value is not in creating systems and setting policies. My greatest value has always been in coaching. And once I understood that, I learned from my greatest mistake of saying yes, which led me into the direction of the work that I'm doing now.
I love it because now it reminds me of one of the conversations that I've seen on YouTube is Warren Buffett. And he always says this also as well. He says no many times.
Yes,
because
you have to.
If you say yes to many things, you're saying no to yourself to accomplish your goals.
That's
you
right.
Need to be stronger. So
I think it's one of those things where so many of us have this desire to be great at everything and to try to do everything that we can. But it's that age-old thing, you know, if you try to be great at everything, you end up being not so good at anything.
What's the expression? A jack of all trades and master of none.
Yes.
I know it's an old proverb being said, but it's true today, and it will always be.
Yeah, and you know, if I could add,
please.
There was I can't remember which iteration of Superman it was, but it was one of the Superman movies, and a scene that always sticks in my head is he was flying Lois Lane over the earth, and he was showing her all of the people around the world who need his help. And the purpose of him showing that to Lois Lane was to let her know that even as Superman, I can't save all of the people there are. I can't always say yes.
Wow. And I love the movie Superman, Christopher Reeve, right? And that was,
yeah. I don't, so it wasn't one of the Christopher Reeve ones.
Okay.
But hopefully I'll remember it, but which one it was. But it was a very powerful scene for me and a very powerful leadership lesson.
Yeah, cool. And speak about leadership and coaching. I know that you've been doing a lot of coaching, especially in the younger demographics and audience there. What is your purpose for coaching people towards speaking with confidence and conviction? That's one that...
man, you know, one of the things that is a great challenge for so many people is self-confidence.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Right?
Yeah, Mark.
If I think we're all searching to be more confident about things. It's the reason why we struggle at work in our personal lives, whether it be dating or promotions or what have you. Self-confidence is such a block for so many of us, whether we're worried about being judged or we're just worrying about coming across the way we really would like to. And I have found that when you can empower people with this craft and with this higher level of being able to present themselves, it instills a sense of confidence for people to do anything. Listen, you and I know speaking in front of people is considered to be the worst fear and the greatest fear in the world.
Yeah.
So imagine overcoming one of the greatest fears in the world.
So
unstoppable.
I agree with you. And the more we have social media, and more become antisocial. In a way,
yes,
it's an oxymoron there. But the thing is, we are looking at the.
I like that. I like that. The more we use social media, the more we become unsocial. Wow, deep.
Right, and we all look for likes. How many likes do I have on on my Facebook? How many likes I have on my Instagram? Because we release certain endorphins in us to watch other people recognize our existence, but we're lacking that human touch, that human contact of communication, really communicating verbally. And we know that in the Toastmasters practice is vocal variety, using body language. All those are part of the accentuation of communication skills. And and we've seen the lack of that in our younger demographics out there. Would you agree?
Yeah. That's why I really enjoy teaching young kids. I'm teaching kids now as young as first grade to instill that, because you're right, they need it for this next generation. Power speakers are going to be power leaders.
Yeah, and that's why I promote always Toastmasters. I've been in Toastmasters now for over 6+ years now, and I belong to 2 clubs, and I'm also an area director on the island. So because I chose to give back, that's the key thing. Because I want to give back and support other clubs and other members out there to improve, just as the way people help me. So I'm sure you're in the same boat there regarding supporting.
Absolutely.
So Marc, over your journey, over your life's journey, I'm sure you've had mentors.
Yes.
Can you share with us maybe 3 mentors that you have, and maybe one in particular that has made a big impact, a big pivot point, a big transformational change in your life?
So I have one mentor who I worked with through education, who taught me a very valuable lesson about telling your narrative. There's so many things going on in your life, but how do you choose to present it, and how do you choose to interpret it, and how do you choose to use your story to teach other people? And she was absolutely head on and fabulous. I would say another mentor of mine was my cousin. Ever since I was a little kid, this was the one showing up to the house to teach me how to iron clothes. This was the one who sent me to summer camp so that I wasn't just hanging out in the city, but I was going on hikes on the Appalachian Trail. So she has taught me so much over the years. When I talk about mentors, the third person I would bring up is my go-to person, Kathy Armias, who I met through Toastmasters.
Okay.
I was going to a workshop. She was running a workshop called 9.5 Ways to Get People to Love You, all about marketing and branding yourself. Excellent book, excellent book, excellent book. And I was a little shy about going up to her and letting her know how much I enjoyed a workshop. But I pushed myself. Right. We went out to lunch, we kept in touch, and we have been friends and family for about the last 6 years. When I was working on creating contracts for speaking, when I was working on my TED Talk, when I was working on my book, when I've got speech ideas, Kathy is the guiding light. And the great thing about Kathy is she will give you things to think about, but she'll never tell you exactly what to do. And
go ahead, Marc.
She's upfront and honest. You know, if you're doing something and she's like, listen, I tell you this much. Kathy, one time, first time I ever got paid to speak, I told Kathy, I was so excited. I was so excited about the 2 cents that I was getting paid. And Kathy turned around and she said, don't you ever accept that ever again. Understand your value, understand your worth.
Interesting. And don't devalue your experience that you are serving with,
Yeah, and to extend that, she said that sometimes we enjoy so much what we do. We enjoy so much what we do that we're willing to do it for nothing. Right? And we're willing to kind of give away everything, and sometimes we end up devaluing it. We always must understand our worth and the value that we bring to other people.
Awesome. Now, you have mentioned the first mentor, but you didn't mention the name. Maybe I missed that.
No. My good friend Jamie, my good friend mentor, my good mentoring coach Jamie was the first person I mentioned.
Okay, cool. Well, and they were always sticking in your heart the difference that you made, right?
Yes.
Now, for the folks out there listening, where do you reside? Do you reside in New York, California, Midwest? Where do you reside, Mark?
I'm Brooklyn born, Brooklyn bred, and living in Brooklyn.
I love it. That's right. Another fellow New Yorker here.
Yes. Born and raised in the streets of Brooklyn.
I love it. And I came from Italy, and I was raised in the Bronx. So Brooklyn,
all right.
Brooklyn and Bronx,
Yes.
It's all good. It's all good.
It is.
Mark, you mentioned about TED Talk. Maybe the audience want to know a bit more about TED Talk. And those who don't know about TED Talk, it's a group of speakers who go on and speak between 12 and 18 minutes. And there's also a TEDx Talk, also another version of it, which is all over the world. And tell us more about your experience. Tell us what you talked about in a short version, if you can, Mark.
Yeah. I was invited to do a TEDx Talk for my old high school, Brooklyn Tech High School. And I got in touch with Kathy because she's a TEDx speaker, coach, and organizer. And I knew my theme was around, I think it was something to do with technology, it being an engineering school. And so I came up with this concept about increasing your reach, whether it be through social media or what have you. And so that was the theme, increase your reach. But then I had to do a whole bunch of research.
Okay.
And then I will tell you that while I had the concept in my head, I waited a very long time to put the whole thing together. And if not for having my coach, Kathy, to be on call, to give me every resource that she had and every piece of advice, even down to, Kathy, I'm going to take a picture of myself right now to show you what I'm thinking about wearing. What do you think?
Okay, even the appearance of clothing, okay? Yeah.
Even the appearance. I went to her because she's very bright. And once again, it goes back to X Factors to Success is about having coaches and mentors in your life and having people you can always go to. So she helped me to fine tune the message. I went out there for 18 minutes and I talked about how important it is to increase your reach, because when you have a larger audience, science and research shows that your performance actually peaks to a higher level. So the larger the audience, the greater the impact on your performance.
Wow. I love it. Maybe I have to reach out to Kathy here. Maybe.
Oh, yes.
Maybe through you. I know you. Maybe you can recommend her to maybe probably be on my show if be a opportunity.
I'm sure she would love to do it. 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees to success.
I love it there, Mark. Wow, I'm loving this. Folks, are you enjoying the show right now? Are you enjoying Mark? I mean, he's just
I know I am.
I love it. Mark, I'm sure you have some routines, behaviors or routines that you go through. Can you share with us what certain routines maybe the folks out there can maybe learn from and maybe take it on their own journey?
Yeah. When I wake up, I try to wake up as early as I can, and I definitely do a little bit of exercise in the morning. My big thing right now is Tabata workouts. 20-second exercises for 20 seconds, 10-second rest, interval training. And I may only do it for like 4 to 10 minutes, but I get to do it every day just to build the energy up. I also always listen to inspiration and motivational videos on YouTube. My kids are probably sick of it. They're like, are you listening to another video? But it's mental fuel. So it's physical fuel, and then it's mental fuel. And then I have partaken in something that I was inspired to do by Jim Rohn. So Jim Rohn talks about the daily 5.
Yeah.
5 things you can do every day. And it doesn't matter how long you do them, because sometimes we feel like we got to work all day on something. But as long as you can do these daily 5. Now, he lists what his daily 5 is, and I don't remember what his daily 5 is, because his point was this. His daily 5 does not have to be your daily 5, and your daily 5 doesn't have to be my daily 5. But if you can come up with 5 things that you do every day. So for me, I make sure that I read, that I write, that I check my emails because that's important to get back to people.
Yeah.
That I'm working on my to-do list, which right now is my speaking program, and that I'm also working on my book.
Well, that's folks, that's a great tip out there. Good content. If you do 5 things every day that get you closer to your goal. One of the things that
Yes.
In my program also from the teachings of Jack Canfield's The Success Principles as a transformational trainer from with Jack, the 5 daily routines. Again, it goes along with your Jim Rohn, and everyone talks about that. But again, it takes time. It takes discipline.
It does.
And sometimes does life get in the way that you can't, if you miss a day or two, what is it that you experience? What can happen?
So if I miss a day or two, I just remember this. You don't have to wait until January 1st, right?
Yep.
We don't have to wait until a New Year's resolution. We just have to wait for a new day's resolution, right? If you mess up, if you eat that late night snack,
Yeah.
when you promised yourself you wouldn't, well, the next day, make sure you don't.
But I like my midnight snack there. Well, depend what kind of snack. It could be a fruit, Doritos.
It could be.
Doritos included? No, Doritos and nachos.
It depends on the diet. Right? But listen, whatever the diet is, whatever you've promised yourself, if you fall off and don't get it done today, don't wait until January 1st. New Day's resolution.
Okay, you heard that, folks, from Marc Williams. Marc Williams. All right, Marc. So listen, I know that you have a book out there, one of the first books, Beyond Limitations. Can you tell us more about the book of that was your first book, right?
That was my first book, and it was a book that I wrote after delivering a speech about what has brought me to this point in my life. I was asked to speak to a group of kids because I supposedly I was a role model to them. That term freaked me out.
Role model, huh?
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. So I asked myself, well, if I've done anything that would be under the realm of a role model, what have I done? And I came up with these 8 things over the course of my life. So they're really 8 factors that anybody can use to overcome their obstacles and realize their dreams. And it's funny, it's called Beyond Limitations, but that wasn't the original title. And the original title actually came from a very, it was a very traumatic story. Maybe I won't give away the story yet. But I
want the audience out there to go out and pick up your book there, okay?
Yes. So I'll say it was a very traumatic experience that could have turned me into a completely downward direction, but it didn't happen. Wow. And it doesn't have to happen for anybody else.
I love that. So folks, you heard that. So we're going to find out when you get the link, and we have to go ahead and purchase his book there. But I'm sure Marc will be more than glad to touch base with you after when I put the show notes in there, folks. You're going to click on that link and touch base with Marc Williams and get in touch with him and see what you can get from him, because he's a good man. I just feel the wonderful. He's been vulnerable, folks. He's definitely out there giving us some great insight of his experience, his trials and tribulations, and who he is right now, making a difference. Right? So, Marc.
Yes. Bringing value to people.
There you go. Marc, you got your book. Oh, hold on. Do you have another book out there? I think I mentioned on bio.
I have another book coming out called The Rules of Engagement for Public Speaking. Soon to be released. Okay, you'll
let me know that, right? Of course.
Absolutely. I'm working on the finishing touches now.
Super duper. I'm sure I'll get a copy of that, Marc.
Yes.
Love it. So, Marc, besides your books, what would you share to the audience, your top 3 books that you learned from?
So,
what would you say?
One book is Speak Like Churchill, Stand Like Lincoln. If you want to be a great communicator, whether it be a professional speaker or just a leader, Speak Like Churchill, Stand Like Lincoln has some amazing tips about how to get your message across in a way that is meaningful and memorable. It's a short read, but it's a powerful read.
Wow. I have to share with you something, though. Today's homily from my church
talked
about Winston Churchill, and Abraham Lincoln. Wow, I'm not kidding.
Wow. Talk about the stars being aligned.
I am totally right now in my wow. I can't tell you enough. I mean, all the trials and tribulations that Lincoln had, right? And all the failures have had to attempt to become president, senator, and so on and so forth. And he had persistence. And the key was today's homily was being persistent with faith. And
yes.
And Churchill also as well. I mean, he had faith, and he had to perform a speech also, and the speech was a very short speech. Right?
Yes, but a powerful one.
It made an impact, right? Made an impact during that time.
Yes. Another book. I've read a lot of books. So it's hard to say the top three, but another one that I just recently read was by Kevin Hart. You Can't Make This Stuff Up. And it was very powerful in terms of, first of all, it really taught this. Everybody has a story. So to everybody who's out there listening, you have a story that somebody needs to hear. Tell your story. He had a very deep story. You can hear his humor, but you can also learn about his pain, and you can learn a lot of lessons about how he made it and how you can make it too. So Kevin Hart, You Can't Make This Up was a great one. And the one that I just read, which was really powerful, especially for our entrepreneurs out there, is a book called The Blue Ocean Shift. Blue Ocean Shift.
Okay, and who's the author?
The author of Blue Ocean Shift is it's W. Chan Kim and Renee Morborgne, I believe it is.
Okay.
The last name is Mauborgne. Blue Ocean Shift. Great book about a different approach to business. And by different approach to business, it simply means we can all go out there and do what everybody else has done. But how are you creating something different that people need?
Yes, I will put this in the show notes, folks, and I'm sure that you'll be delighted also. Again, we're all entrepreneurs out there. Whatever we're doing, right, folks?
Yes.
If you are a teacher, you're an instructor, a physical fitness instructor, a lawyer, a doctor, anyone out there listening to this podcast, we'll all increase our value and become a better version of ourselves. So this leads me to this question there, Mark, because again, I get this all the time, and people say, G-Man, you're lucky. You're lucky. But people tell you also, Mark, hey, you're a lucky man.
I got to say, I don't know if I've had anybody say that I'm lucky, but I'm sure that there are people who think so. And I guess we all, to some degree, have some ounce of luck that has brought us to where we are. With that said, what's that saying about success is like preparation and luck kind of coming together? I forget the exact wording.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can be as lucky as you want to be with the timing, but if you're not prepared for the moment, then the timing won't matter.
I'm going to give you a quote by Les Brown, one of my favorite mentors.
Love Les. Go ahead.
It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than have an opportunity and not be prepared. That goes hand in hand.
Yes, I love that one. I love that one.
Yes, indeed. I had an opportunity to see him in person a couple of times, one-on-one, in a small group at the LaGuardia Marriott in Queens there. And a couple of years back, he was giving a talk there for a whole day, one-day seminar. And I attended his class. Yeah, he's good. And I also saw him with Bob Proctor, also on stage at the Carnegie Hall back some years back.
Wow, man, that's one of those things that's on my dream list. Yeah. I want to see Les one day. He's one of those people I listen to in the morning. Got to see him live.
Got to be hungry.
Got to be hungry.
My little boy Lorenzo, he actually always quotes that because one of the videos that I had him give me, and in person, I said, "Can you address my little boy Lorenzo?" And he says, "Lorenzo, this is Les Brown. You know, if you want things to happen, you got to be hungry." And really, really cool guy. And
that's magic.
And I hope he's doing well also because he's been being challenged a little bit of health lately. You know, and his son now is also out there speaking too on stages.
Right.
So it's cool. See, we've got common mentors also out there in the world of authors, right? Super.
Yes.
So Do you have any special breakthrough goal you want to share with us that you have maybe for this coming year? We're on to a new decade. Obviously, 2020, a breakthrough goal.
Oh yeah, yeah. The big goal and project that I'm working on right now is a public speaking program for kids. Now, I mentioned earlier that I do this sort of like 9-session program for kids that culminates in a young speaker showcase. But I'm now working on expanding that so that it's a longer program developing speaking abilities on multiple levels and multiple competencies. And my goal is, right now I'm in one borough. The next goal is to get into more than one borough. And the next goal is to get nationwide. But because sometimes we think too far and we don't do the first small step. My first small step moving into next year is to finish laying out what the entire program will be.
I love it. I look forward to kind of touch base with you next year also to see where that's going, and probably have you again on my show again once you launch that book and talk about your book. How about that? Huh? I'm giving you a...
That sounds great. It sounds like a commitment to me.
There you go. I keep my agreements. Okay.
Same here.
Super. Well, Marc, I've got a few more minutes before we have a closure on this podcast for a future podcast, you and I. But I'd like to ask you a couple more questions before we say farewell. This is a question that has stumped me from many, many years ago. That was asked: if you were conducting this interview, what one question would you ask yourself, and why?
That is a tough one. I guess the question would be, what keeps you so energetic and happy and faithful? And the reason why I would ask that question of myself is because it reminds me of a mistake that I made.
Okay.
And the mistake was this. I was working out of school, walking down the hall, and I was my good morning, cheery, happy self. Hey, how you doing? And one of my coworkers stopped me and she said, I don't get it. How are you so energetic in the morning? And my answer and mistake was saying this: I guess that's just who I am. That was a mistake, because I have learned that when you say, this is who I am, for the people who are looking for X factors to success, if your X factor to success is your DNA, then nobody can learn from you. Nobody can walk away from you because they can't be you. So by her asking that question, I walked away and I realized I can't ever say it's just who I am. I have to think about, what do I do? What are my routines? What am I, to put that term, X factors to success? And it really pushed me to start thinking about valuable and tangible things that we can share with other people so that they can achieve their goals. She was looking for a way to achieve her goal. I thank her now for teaching me that it's important to teach those lessons.
Oh, wow. That's very wise of you to share that, because that is I could see a very pivotal moment in your life also, that you acknowledge that. See, the thing is that we have to acknowledge what we say at times and reflect. And because there's so much noise out there in the world, from the news and the billboards and the social media, we get entrenched in tunnel vision, right? And we're not able to see things beyond the forest.
Yes.
And it's amazing. That's a great insight. And you're right. You're absolutely right. We are given the gift of God, universe, spirit.
Yes.
The gift of skills to share and to grow. And that's the purpose. You mentioned about being happy, being energetic, and purpose, and that's what we're all about. And I strongly believe more and more today in my studies, in my world of traveling, that we have to serve. And what comes to mind, Marc, is this, and this is a quote from many people: be the student for the teacher above you. And be the teacher of the people below you.
Yes.
Right? Be the student, the people above you, who are, again, the wise and educated, right? But also be the teacher for the students below you, people below you.
Absolutely.
So again, that's very profound. It kind of ties in what you was just saying right there that you acknowledged, right? Powerful.
Yes. And by the way, I'm going to give you credit as I use that as well.
Okay, well, let's see. Here you go. One from one there, buddy.
Yes.
Well, Marc, this has been an awesome opportunity to share your insights of your experience and your travels and tribulations and your journey, your personal journey on the X Factors to Success show. And I'm going to ask you one more question before we say farewell.
Okay.
And then you give us also where people can reach you and how can they reach you and so on. What legacy or imprint to the world you would leave behind? And let's say it's 100+ years from now. You've written all the books, right? I know that's a powerful question. Beyond limitations out there, the rules of engagement. You've spoken outside of your Brooklyn, the whole state, the whole states, the whole world. You're on the world platform. Marc Williams and a billboard there, Carnegie Hall. Yeah. You're in Milan, Italy, and you're in, so.
Let's dream big.
Yeah, that's right. Go beyond, because, again, we're giving the gift. So what legacy or imprint would you leave behind? It's 100 years from now. People pick up the papers and pick up this book saying, oh, Marc Williams. Go.
My whole life I've been such a dreamer about what I've wanted to achieve. And then I realized your question is head on. It's not what I want to achieve, but it's the legacy that I want to leave, my one big scary dream. And on one end, I want to say cliche is I want my legacy to be that I've given people hope and I've given people faith. Because if there's anything that I've learned from being a kid who had next to nothing, what got me to be something was always having that hope and always having that vision and that dream. And so I always encourage everybody to always remain hopeful, to always learn about what you can do to make yourself better and to achieve your dream, and to always think about what your one big scary dream is, what your impact, what your legacy will be. So if I can leave people feeling hopeful, like they can do anything, I will have been proud, as I hope my mommy is, as she looks down and listens tonight.
I love it. Wow.
I that's what I hope for.
Wow, that's a wonderful, wonderful response to the question there. Again, hope and faith, vision and dreams. Hope and faith, vision and dreams. How many of us out there are running around without any hope, without any vision, without any faith? Again, my key principle that comes into the X Factors to Success starts with faith, the belief system, right? In our hearts. Yes. When we have clarity of purpose and taking 100% responsibility for our life and results, then we have that direction, that conduit for us to pursue our goals and dreams and passions. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can tell you, after you and I are long gone, if there are, and we could put whatever number we want to put on it, but if there are X number of people who are now achieving their dreams because of something we said to them, that will be an incredible legacy.
Yep. We plant the seed, Marc, right? And let the seed, germinate and during the gestation period, right? And it grows fruit. And again, we could touch someone. Will make a difference. That's why I say make a difference out there every day to someone. Put a smile on your face, greet them, attitude of gratitude, be grateful, and show appreciation. Those are key ingredients for daily life.
Yes.
So, Marc, this has been a fantastic time together on the X Factors to Success. Where can the audience find you? Where can they go ahead and click on a link and whatnot? So give us where are you in the social media world?
Perfect. Everybody come and join me. First of all, on my website, www.marcwilliamsspeaks.com. And that's Marc with a C. That's Marc with a C. I grew up with the K, but it's with the C. You can definitely find me out on Instagram at Marc Williams Speaks. And you can also find me on Twitter. This one's not Marc Williams Speaks. This one is Mr. M.R. Williams 90 at Twitter. So that's where you can find me on social media, sharing what I like to call, especially on Tuesdays, my Tuesday morning tune-ups.
Oh, you heard that, folks? On special Tuesdays, you got to hook up with Marc Williams with a C. C for courageous, C for the man who's really competent and loving, enjoying, and full of energy, man, right here, Marc Williams.
Yes.
So, folks, you heard that. I'll put this all in the show notes, folks, so you could really reach out. And please reach out to him. And tell him that you listen to him on the X Factors to Success. We want to also ask you to share this podcast, folks, right? Share it, rate, review it. If you find a friend out there who's in need to hear another story on our podcast show, and he or she could be motivated and inspired by Marc Williams' story, please share it. Again, this is the purpose for my podcast, is to bring people like Marc and share the platform. It's not my platform, it's everyone's platform. This is the world right here. It's the X Factors to Success. And we want to plant that seed every day and show gratitude to the people who come on the show. So, Marc, appreciate that, and thank you very much. So, Marc, would you do you have any last comments or inspiring encouragements before we say farewell?
4 words.
Go ahead.
That I would want everybody to walk away with. 4 words that will do everything that you need to do. 4 words that will take you beyond your limitations. 4 words that will be your X factor to success. Hope, faith, vision, dreams.
Marc, you just right now, I just got a chill up my spine right now. I feel it. Thank you for those 4 key words, and definitely very impactful. And I feel very grateful to have you on the show and to share your story with me, but more importantly, to the audience who are listening to this. Again, folks, wherever you are, listen to this in your car, at home, at the gym, walking the dog, or just kind of taking the time to listen to our podcast like here. And I ask you to share this, but also comment on this. I want to see how many folks out there can comment on this and say, how did Marc inspire you? What were the 4 words of Marc? I'm going to test you on that. You got hope, faith, and vision, and dream. So, Marc, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Your energy is enormous and contagious.
Well, hopefully we will meet again in person sometime soon. And
yes.
I will keep my agreements that you'll be on the show. I'll invite you to the show once that book comes out. I'd like to share your story out again, and for those who are really engaging in your story here. And folks, this has been a pleasure. I want to thank you for taking your time to listen to this podcast. I'd like to also to ask you if you share this podcast once again, rate it, review it, and make some comments on Marc's feedback. So without further ado, from the X Factors to Success, live with purpose, passion, and make a difference.